Hey everybody, hope you're all having a good week so far. There was a question asked in the group that I'm going to cover a little bit earlier in the video, but first there was a couple, I think Steve posted a chart. Let me see. That Benjamin Cohen posted about the 200-week SMA crosses the prior all-time high, marks the top of BTC. So we can take a look at that today and kind of judge where that might take place. Okay, we'll kind of just draw out that SMA line, but first I wanted to look at this. No, there's a lot of stuff on this chart. Let's look at another one real quick. Maybe one I haven't drawn anything on. See if there's enough data here. Okay, so this is called the pi cycle top indicator, and this has been a really good indicator for passing through. Once the orange line passes through the green line, that's the top of BTC, and I believe it happened again over here. Let me actually look. I'm going to go back to that chart here in a second. I think it's every time, or at least it was the past couple cycles. Let's see. Yeah, so probably if you would have drawn this out, yeah, it would have crossed right there. So that was exactly, that would be very close to the top within a few days. There was actually a top here as well. There was a cross. And then there was a cross right here, which was the top of BTC before 80% downturn. And then right here, the cross was right there. Okay, and then this was the other one. So we had a double top. So we would have known that there was something somewhat wrong there, right? However, that was one of the tops, and then this one did not. So maybe this could have been skewed because of this. So it might not be reliable anymore, because look how far these are apart. Like this price would have to go like way up here for those two lines to cross. So that's something to consider. This might not be valid, at least on this cycle. Maybe in this cycle in the future, it could come back into play. But we're going to have to see. If price shoots up to a crazy number, then we'd know, okay, well, we're going to cross and top. But since this happened over here, it could have screwed things up. Looks like it might have. Okay, so that's how I was going. One way I was going to use to predict the top. But now we can look at Benjamin's SMA 200, and let's look and see how that looks. Let's go back to this Kraken. Okay, so we're going to get rid of this. I'll look at that again in the future. So let's go to the SMAs, which is simple moving averages, which I use moving averages, but SMA is another one. Okay, so this is at a 9 right here, so we're gonna look at 200. I think it was it 200 week or 200 day? 200 week. Okay, so you go down to 1 week, and we're going to draw the same lines that he had here. This isn't the best chart because it doesn't have that's way off on this one. Okay, so let's look at BLX. I know there's a lot of stuff drawn on this chart, but okay, let's look. Boom. Boom. Cross like way over here. This one was kind of correct, pretty close, by about a week. And this one is pretty far off. This one brings you like back to this other this other pump here. But he might be looking at a different chart too. Let's look and see. No, he has all the data on there. Simple moving average. Yeah, he's using the BLX chart, but it's showing different from, I mean, he's like spot on these tops. Let's see. Oh. It's not exact. It's not exact. I think he's actually putting it a little bit over to the left over here. So I mean, it's pretty close. It's going to give you probably a month of a window. So if that's the case for this last one, if we were to just draw this out, you know, if price doesn't move from where it's at now, if it goes up, this is going to curve up a little bit. There are things that you can use to kind of project the price. Okay, so and this one was a little bit, it was a month ahead, right? So you'd want to go a month back, or this actually might be a couple months. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 2 months. So if this is December, November, so it'd be October. Somewhere in October. Okay, so that's still in our green box. So between, I have September on there, not from using this, and then October. So let's do vertical line here. Let's do October, and let's change this to we'll change this one to, let's do blue, and we'll say blue, oops, blue line is Benjamin Cons 200 week SMA top. Okay. Well, it should just kind of stay here, right? Okay, so we have somewhat of a more narrow time frame, right? Between September and October, maybe December, if this bottom line is kind of the trajectory. So it still kind of falls within our box. So we'll kind of just have to see how that plays out towards the end. Steve, if you can keep an eye on that, that would be awesome, because I probably will forget about it. I'll be looking at other indicators, but that's something we do want to pay attention to. The more data that you have that surrounds an area of a top is going to be helpful, because it's going to be difficult to pick the exact top. I could probably get out on BTC at the exact top within maybe 10% or something like that. But when it comes to altcoins, that's going to be a challenge. Like, you're going to have to prepare yourself that some of the altcoins might run past where you get out. It'd probably be over within a week or two. Like the bull market it would top out within a week or two of when we get out, I would assume. But price can go up quite a lot during that time. And I'm going to make decisions. I'm going to say, this is what I'm going to do, and then you guys get to decide what you're going to do at that point on. But this was helpful. Thanks for sharing that. The other question in the group was Kai asking, I guess Steve didn't ask a question, but I did want to point that out for everybody. So Kai asked, does how you determine buy entries for coin change when the trend shifts to an upward trend? Example, for ICP, you called out major support levels you thought would be good entries until it eventually bottomed, but now that trend is going back up, and as you look to accumulate mode, do you still buy on these support levels, or do you look at other patterns, indicators, pullbacks, or is that not important given the overall trend? So first and foremost, I put money in maybe every 2 weeks. So I'm dollar cost averaging. If I into specific coins. So for example, XRP. This is the example that I used earlier. Okay, so for example, XRP is up. It looks like it's potentially completed its third leg, right? So which coin looks like it hasn't done its third leg yet that has potential? ICP still hasn't, right? So what I'm assuming XRP is going to do is going to consolidate and go sideways or down for longer while ICP goes up, okay? Because it's already completed a third leg here. Potentially, right? So I want to get the most amount of money for the money that I'm putting in today. I'm hoping ICP can run first, right, and make a big move to the upside. Then I could probably switch some of that money into XRP, maybe do a swing trade there, or just get more money on the money that I'm investing now. Now this could run while ICP is still low. That's a possibility, but I think it's more likely that ICP runs first. Okay, so I'm taking an approach that way. I've also bought XRP down at 60 cents, and I don't really want to pay $2 for it. I'd rather pay $5 for ICP because the trend to the upside seems more likely that ICP is going to have a bigger run. Like our first target's only 200%. ICP has like $40 as a first target. Okay, big difference. So that's how I decide which coin to be buying. Now, if XRP has like a wick down to 150 or something like that, that makes, and this is support, right? So if it gets to this level of support, that's a 400% run. So I would start accumulating more XRP. So typically I'll wait for a pullback before I re-enter something that's up quite a lot. If I just noticed the indicators were going crazy for XRP and it just broke out and had a big candle that broke this pattern here, or maybe not this specific token, but if I notice a big move up and it breaks out a pattern, I might buy some and then ride it up and switch it to something else. But it just kind of depends on where the cycle is. So ICP USD, I bought a bunch of ICP around, I really bought this thing all over the place. Okay. However, down here, I think I actually bought some up here. So when it breaks some level of support, right? If it breaks support, I would buy down to the next cluster of support, right? And then if it breaks resistance, and I think it's in wave 3, because I thought this was in wave 3, right? It started a wave 3. It did look a little funky here, which I mentioned several times, is that I bought when indicators look good. So I probably bought some here and it went up, 50% or whatever that is, and then it just turned around. So you can buy on a break of resistance and a close if you're expecting it to be in wave 3, and I got that wrong, right? But sometimes you're just not going to know. But the good thing is that we know that this wave is 600%, so wave 3 should be 600% or more, most likely, or 3 and 5 together is going to be more than this. So any price that it broke down to, I was willing to buy, because the cheaper it got, the more I'm going to be able to accumulate. So reason being why I bought more ICP lately is because you had a breakout of this pattern, you've had a retest, right? I think I did buy some down here, and that I'm thinking that's going to be the last level for ICP based on a couple of other factors. You've got this left shoulder, you've got this head, you've got this right shoulder. Now anything can happen, of course, but looking at past charts, a lot of these patterns that broke out of this and retested, they went on a pretty big run. And especially because we're waiting for that. Like, we're looking at the Bitcoin dominance, we're expecting another leg, so the cheaper that this got, the more of it that I wanted to buy. Okay, now over time, as this goes up, I'm still going to be putting money into the market, right? So I'm not just going to keep the money and blow it. I'm going to try to get a few 100% on the money that I can still add to the market. So when am I going to add that amount of money? Okay, so let's look if I get paid in a couple weeks or next week or whatever. You know, hopefully price is going to be up here by then. So I wouldn't want to really buy it on support, right? I'd want to wait for, there's probably going to be like a left shoulder, a head, and I don't want to really buy it right here. Most likely it could pull back about to $6 or so, and then I would buy on a level of support. I never really want to chase something that's already broken out, right? A lot of the times you'll see some kind of breakout and then it sells off. So you buy it because it's exciting, and then it just sells right back off to go lower to test some level of support. So I would wait for some kind of pullback confirming that right shoulder. If it doesn't play out, maybe I would put that money somewhere else. Okay, so I have like a bunch of different tokens that I'm watching for patterns to play out, and then that's how I make my buys. Now if ICP breaks and closes above $20 or so, I mean, that might be a pretty important trade just to, you know, if it's consolidating in one area above a level of support, I would probably buy that again. So let's say if it comes all the way up here and it breaks this level of support, it sells off and it consolidates for a whole month, makes some kind of bull flag, then I would buy on a breakout of a bull flag to head to the upside. Okay, so I wait on patterns. I wait on testing supports. See, like right here, I think, I don't remember if I bought some right down here, I bought some over here, but this was coming close to the apex of this pennant, and if you would have waited for the bottom of the pennant, it never got there. So I'm just going to be buying around, you know, $3, $4 around this level of support, and if it goes lower, I'm okay with that. We'll just accumulate more in a couple weeks or accumulate more on a breakout. That way you have a dollar cost average around here over the past month or so that you were accumulating. Now there's a lot of people that always think it's going to go lower, and they decide to spend the money on dinner, a nice dinner or whatever. And it's just, I just don't think that's necessarily the best mindset to be using. Like, if this thing goes up 600%, if you bought at $3.30, you make 500%. You're up 500%. And if you bought the exact low, right, you made an extra 80%, but you might have missed. You might not have actually purchased it, right? But if you want more of a confirmation, you wait for a breakout and a retest. Okay? If you want more confirmation, breakout and a retest, or buy on a breakout of a pattern. So that's kind of how I do things. I also look at the indicators too, right? So like we've got a cross here, so I'm pretty confident this thing's going to start to run. Okay, you've got a MACD cross. Like everything for ICP looks really solid. You have a cross on the 3-day. You're getting ready to pass through the zero line. I mean, everything on ICP looks pretty good. Daily's a little overbought, but everything else is still fine to go up. Plus, you got that pattern. So that hopefully answers your question. Two weeks getting ready to pass through here as well. You had a solid month to the upside. A month and a half on this one, on its ABC correction, and then you had a solid 3 months, 3 to 5 months to the upside on this one. So that's what I'm expecting. Something more like this over here for this. So like Ethereum. Like Ethereum's been consolidating right here. If you're an actual trader, you'd probably wait for it to kind of close probably above this level of support, just because there is this major trend line that we're getting rejected from. But based on the overall market, I would expect this to be broken. But like as a trader, if you wanted to make a trade on Ethereum, maybe 50% to a couple 100%, you would wait for a couple closes above that trend line, and then you'd buy and hold till 4100 or whatever. But like if Ethereum breaks up here, pulls back a little bit, maybe has a left shoulder, a head, and then a small right shoulder, and it breaks out of this pattern and it touches this, I would probably buy Ethereum right there. Okay, or I would buy Ethereum maybe right here. This would be expecting, a new all-time high on Ethereum. This would be expecting just probably coming back up to here, or maybe playing out that inverse head and shoulders all the way back up to here. So like here is a good example of Ethereum. I talked about Ethereum at $1,700. I said that would be a good area to buy Ethereum for a run up. Just because it was really because of this trend line. It was bouncing pretty good from there. So I think I did say something about it right here. So buying on a trend line retest is a pretty good chance, right? So you've got one touch, you've got two touches, so most likely the third touch is going to bounce. May not go really high, but it did. And then the next time it touches, that's another good point to buy, right? But then you've got resistance, so that's a good point to sell. Though I really expected this to go up, right? But that's just kind of how the game goes. That's why I consider myself an investor and a swing trader. I don't take these small 40% moves. I'd rather accumulate down here and then sell way up here. But this is a good example. So you've got a pattern here. You've got an ascending triangle, which is typically a bullish pattern. It sold off here. It broke past it. It consolidated. So that's where you would be accumulating more Ethereum for a run up to probably this level right here, this level of support, or this level or resistance, or this level of resistance. Okay, so any major patterns buying on a consolidation pattern retest. So like this one here, it didn't break this resistance, so you don't want to be buying Ethereum up here, even though we expected it to, or I expected it to go up. Closing above here creates a higher probability that it's going to go up, so you would accumulate past this level of resistance. Because crypto always kind of just comes back down to resistance. It tested it here, it broke past here. Structurally, this looked like it was going to run, probably because BTC corrected at that point, pushed everything down. Sometimes alts run without BTC, and this time it's rare that happens, but this time it didn't. Like this cycle, BTC could hit a top and then the alts run an extra 200% like they did in 2017. And it's just going to be difficult to know that. You know, it's rare that that happens, but it can. I wonder if this Benjamin Cohen thing works here on Ethereum. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Oh, he's actually using the weekly. I don't know if that's going to show enough data. No. The daily sure did work though. And sometimes you could just kind of play around with this stuff and find something that other people don't really see, right? So the daily, it was literally 100% accurate. So, you know, that's something you can watch here. If Ethereum has a big move to the upside, this thing's going to turn right back around and then potentially cross, you know, sometime in September or towards the end of the year. So that's something you could look for as well. So maybe keep an eye on that 200 SMA on the daily for Ethereum. That could be the top for altcoins. Might be something to really pay attention to. So Steve, if you can do that, that would be awesome. If not, it's okay. We'll just we'll use other metrics, or I'll try to remember as well. I'll actually put that up here. Check the 200 SMA daily for top ETH. I'm going to change that to green. Okay. Man, I covered pretty much everything last Sunday, guys. I don't know what else to look at. We could look at actually the Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance sold off a little bit. Daily looks really bearish. Really bearish. So you've got to cross back down. You've got momentum pointing to the downside. You've got a bearish engulfing candle. So hopefully this does play out here, guys. We'll see. I think the weekly looked kind of bearish on the close too. Yeah, and then you're starting to get these red histograms. That won't happen until Sunday. But the first red histogram over here, the next 2 weeks was a drastic fall. Yeah, so if we close there, you close the weekly across down, you are getting divergence here again. And this is something that can happen too, because I think we were watching divergence play out on this a while back. Yeah, so you had a top. I guess it kind of did. This is why I thought that this was the top. or I thought we'd have a bigger move to the downside because of the divergence, but now we have just bigger divergence. So that can play out to where divergence breaks one level of and just creates another one. Okay, so you've got a high and a lower high with price action going up. So that's pretty rare that that happens, but it can happen. So just another thing you got to pay attention to. We'll take a look at DEEP really quick. That's really the only other token I really care to look at. Not on this chart. Crypto.com maybe? No. DEEP USD. Pyth. Yeah. Okay, so if you want to use a Fibonacci, you can for like pullback entries. I'm sure this is like the 0.787 something. What is it? $382. So that's how you can judge your targets too. Once you know like a wave one is over, this is probably going to have a bounce. If it breaks this level, it's probably going to go to 0.5, maybe down to the golden ratio here, and then start to run up. So that's another way, but I just use support and resistance. It's kind of the same thing. Okay, so here's your support over here. You've got this level of support. It's kind of where we bounced from. Okay, now if it turns back around, the next level of support is probably going to be about 12 cents. Breaks that, it's going to go back down to where this is right here. Doesn't have to go there. It can stop at any point, right? So that's why you watch the indicators. The daily looks like it has some room, potentially. The 3-day, it looks okay. I mean, this is a really good sign because over here, whenever you pass through that 20 line, you have this big move up. However, the MACD is crossed to the downside. So there is a chance that this does roll back over and come back down to 9 cents, around where we actually entered this. And that's where I would accumulate more of this. I would have bought some, if I wanted more of this for whatever reason, I would have bought some here, and then I'd probably buy some here if it got there. Okay, that's major support. These 3 points of contact, 4 or 5 points of contact, that's a very strong base. Okay, so if it touches there, it might wick through. That would be a buy, and then start running up. Weekly probably doesn't show much. Yeah, like if the weekly crossed to the upside, that would indicate that most likely this was actually the bottom, and then it would go a bit higher. If the price was where it's at now and you got a weekly cross, I would probably feel more comfortable buying more deep there. Because we really should, I mean, this is obviously speculating, right? But we really should be doing a 3 of 3 right now, which should be the bigger wave. It should be bigger than this one right here. Okay, and then top of 3, pull back. Pull back might be quick, might just pull back for a week or two and then hit its final top. And then also you want to use Elliott Wave 2. It increases the probability of being right if you're looking at other charts too, like the Bitcoin dominance chart, right? Or Ethereum. So as long as those break to the points that they look like they're going to, this should be in wave 3 of 3. Okay, I'd really like to see some volume on there, but I don't even know if... Yeah, so you've got a low volume pullback, which is great. Now you just need some green volume. Hopefully the volume should be bigger on a weekly scale. Yeah, I mean, probably, I mean, the volume can't really go much lower, so there's a good chance that it starts to run from here. Alright guys, hopefully that was helpful. It was a lot of information, I'm sure. If you have more questions, or if I said something incorrectly, don't feel bad about commenting. Sometimes I'll look back in the video and I'll be like, oh, I said something I probably shouldn't have, or whatever. I don't think I did, but if you want me to re-elaborate on anything, I can repeat myself up to 5 times. I'm fine with that. Or repeat doing something if you don't understand it. You're here to learn, so feel free to ask any questions there. This probably isn't going to be too much help here. Yep, it's getting close to passing that 0 line. So it's on resistance right now. So, but I would expect this to close back above here. Then probably some kind of a pullback at this point, and then one last leg to the upside. You can kind of see a left shoulder here ahead, and then you'd probably do some kind of a right shoulder. Left shoulder, head, and then pull, just a little bit of a pullback there. I wouldn't expect it to be very long. And then boom, probably just a straight parabolic move somewhere up between 2.5 to 3 trillion. That's just going to be a very strong level of resistance, kind of what Bitcoin has been in and hit. So 3 trillion seems like a pretty good number. So let's see if that plays out. All right guys, I hope you have a good week. If you have any questions, feel free to send them my way. And then there is some kind of stablecoin law that I think just got passed, which was inevitable. I mean, they're going to use stablecoins in the future. I think they're faster for transactions, and they're just better than dollar bills. So people use credit cards, people use Apple Pay. It's pretty standard that eventually we're going to move to some kind of USDC. So, all right, I will talk to y'all later.